We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sport.
Oh, it's a Sunday, and it's the place to be. You know the drill. It's the SportsGrid Network. It's time for pro baseball today. Donnie writes out along with Tom Vecchio, and each and every game will be handicapped today over the next 2 hours, sort of the end of the week, and also the start of your next week on what to expect. But it's game day for us today, Tom. How do we feel? Live, ready to go?
I'm feeling great. I was in studio yesterday for some basketball, breaking things down. Playoffs are about to start for that, but today is about baseball. Today is all about baseball, and I want to say we're in the groove, right? We have enough sample size starting to get from this year. We can still look back to last year, see what we want to get from different stats there, but we have a full slate today. There's some cold weather games. There's not a whole lot of rain today, but I think we are in for an awesome day. Today is all about pitchers. We have a ton of aces on the mound. Let's get into things.
We do. Yeah, we do. Which, again, sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. And then I go, come on, man. I want some more runs out there. But let's start here, Tom, because you bring up some pretty good points. It's April the 13th. We're roughly 2.5, 3 weeks into the season per se. And I got to tell you, this was one of the coldest, rainiest weeks I've seen in Major League Baseball in April in a long time. Did it affect any handicaps for yourself last week? And are we just saying, wow, 55 degrees in a place? Thank goodness.
Yeah, it certainly affected things where I'm like, all right, if I'm on a toss-up between two hitters, maybe looking for an RBI, I would certainly side with the better, even though it's the better hitter, but he's in colder weather, rain type environment. I'll take the worst, quote-unquote, worst hitter, but he's in a better hitting environment. So, we do have to factor those things on a day-to-day basis. The same thing with pitchers and strikeouts, whatever it might be. So I would say it's a slower start than I wanted to see. Obviously, we want to see that warm weather. We want to see the offense get out and running. And I think we're going to hit that turn probably coming into this week, where we'll actually start to see some great hitting weather really across the board.
Start to get those 20 innings pitched out of some starting pitchers now, start to get 50 or so at bats out of some of these batters. It's good stuff as it turns. And also understand this, once you start to get in the months of May and also June and July, hundreds of at bats, multiple innings and multiple starts out of these starting pitchers, things should get easier. But it's fun to handicap the evolution of the sport over the first couple weeks. Some guys have started out really hot. Some guys have started out cold. Those things certainly will come into balance. But I want to start here with a quick recap of yesterday. And sort of, yes, we're handicappers and we have some fun. Got a couple bad beats to start the day with some 1+1+1 markets, Tom, but I got to tell you, when I went to bed last night going, you know what? I had 3 team totals out yesterday. Hit the Angels at 3.5. They got 4 runs by the 6th inning. That was great. But I went to bed going, My goodness, the Rockies, I just need them to get a couple runs. They have nothing on the board. And the Diamondbacks had nothing on the board. Tom, I woke up in the middle of the night to check my phone and saw the Diamondbacks exploded in the 9th inning for 5 runs. They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Yeah, we do. We get all that. The other day, it was Friday night. I was on Matt Chapman and Corbin Carroll for a hit, and Corbin Carroll comes through. Matt Chapman has 3 walks to start the game. 3 walks. Like, he's not doing anything bad. And then find out that the game gets called early and that leg is void. So we get half a win there, which is still great. But yeah, the bad beats can come through. We see this all the time. A player is smoking the ball, exit velocity well over 100, but he's just hitting it right at guys, or he has 400-foot flyouts. Those are bad beats. But if ultimately we're identifying the right players and the right teams, that will flip and we'll be on the right side of things.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I am. I love it. Handicapping Major League Baseball to me is fun. It's an everyday poker game. And the great part about it is, like in the NFL season time, like the evolution of the week is like, okay, see those lines open up early Monday morning, get some information throughout the week. You don't get that in baseball. You wake up in the morning and it's go time right away, knowing you have 12, 13, 14, 15 games on that slate. And Sundays, when we do the show, a full card every single week. It's great to watch. But also, one quick recap, I should say, from last night. There was a 16-0 game in Major League Baseball. The team that's favored to win the World Series was in that game. So I asked most of the public if they didn't wait up late last night, who won that game? It wasn't the Dodgers. It was the Cubs, 16-0 last night over the Dodgers, Tom.
Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. I saw the beginning portion of that game, and Sasaki was on the mound and he pitched kind of well, right? You're seeing 5 innings, 1 earned run. We talked about his strikeouts coming into the season. He's not getting there, at the rate that I anticipated. You see Ben Brown on the other side, a pitcher we've kind of mentioned in the past. 6 innings against the Dodgers, no earned runs. You're like, okay, it's going to be certainly a lower scoring game. I didn't stay up for the end of this. And then wake up to see 16-0 by the Cubs, and everyone's hitting for them. So if you had Cubs props yesterday, I know Michael Busch had a home run, he had another one robbed. But if you had Cubs props yesterday, congrats, you ended the week on a high note.
5-4-5. That was the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings there, offense there for the Chicago Cubs. And pour some out sometime. Like, hey, you know what? I went over in the first 5. Game ended up with 16 runs. My goodness, man. The Cubs supplied that power late, no doubt about it. But we are going to get that on a day-to-day basis in baseball as you take a look at the Dodgers at 11-5 on the season. So why don't we start there in the NL West, which we think probably is going to be the most competitive division in Major League Baseball. The Padres 12-3, the Giants 10-4, the Dodgers 11-5, the Diamondbacks 8-7, and then there is the Rockies at 3-11. But my goodness, 3 teams there. The Dodgers aren't even in first place. It's exciting. How much longer is this going to continue, or will it? Like, are the Giants for real at this point? I love looking at this stuff.
I think it is. I think we are in for the Wild West all season. Great teams. Each team has their strengths. You could say that it's the pitching staff for the Giants. It's the offense for the Padres, even though they did lose Jackson Merrill. We'll talk about that in a second. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks are a team that has great pitching. We saw it last night with Corbin Burns on the mound. Zach Gallen's on the mound today. They have the hitting. And although the hitting had been stifled in the series, I think it was 17 straight innings, they said on the broadcast last night, because I was waiting for a Josh Naylor hit. 17 straight innings, they were shut out by the Brewers. That flipped, and they have the power to get it done. They have players coming off the bench. Randall Grichuk had a pinch hit double yesterday. I think that the NL West may be the most exciting division outside of the East in both the AL and the NL.
And who, if somebody would have told you the Padres and the Giants there, technically, I shouldn't say in first place, in the order 1 and 2, plus 24 run differential, plus 22. And then there's the Dodgers, 11-5, a plus 2 run differential. And you say, boy, that's interesting. Well, when you get beat by 16 runs in one game within 3 weeks of the opening of the season, you're going to get that plummeting, no doubt about it. Staying out there in the NL, the Century of the Cubs at 10-7. After that big victory last night over the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Reds, the Cardinals, and the Pirates here. So competitive again. It's early in the season. Cubs have the lead. No surprise, one of the favorites there to do that in the division.
Yeah, we talked about this division coming into the season on the preview show, and I said pretty plainly, like, this is my least favorite division in all of baseball. I think the Cubs are the best team. Like, it's not some super hot take. They were the favorites to win that division. But the Reds are the most interesting because their pitching staff has gotten better this year. Right? We saw they won 3 games in a row, 1-0. Right, so their pitching staff is there. They have the young players. Obviously, Ellie's amazing. I still have hope that they can go over their win total this year, and that's where we want to be looking. And the Cardinals, despite that super hot start that they were on, aren't that good, and that's where they're going to settle. They're going to end up 4th or 5th in the division.
Take a look at that NL East quickly here. The Phillies, the Mets, the Marlins, the Nationals, and the Braves. You had a couple games yesterday. The Phillies played some good defense. I know a lot of people were contacting me yesterday. Hey, man, had that 4.5 team total on the Philadelphia Phillies, who, again, bases loaded, runners on second and third, nobody out, can't get runners home. Those are frustrating. But the Mets take a loss yesterday to drop the 9-5. The Marlins, 7-7, and the Nationals at 6-8 competitive. And the Braves looked like they were headed for another loss yesterday before a power surge late in that game brought them the victory over Tampa Bay. So there you go, a bunched up division in the NL. Again, no surprise outside of the Braves for me being in last place.
Yeah, that's probably a surprise at this point, as everyone knows that they started off the season terribly. Their offense just wasn't there, and we talked about it last week about the Braves and what our panic meter was on the Braves. Like, it's going to get to a point where even if they do improve, they're going to have to leapfrog a lot of teams and getting into the wild card conversation, because if the Mets and the Phillies are there, plus the teams in the NL West, it's going to be a long season for the Braves to fight back.
Yeah, Sale's going to be on the mound today for the Atlanta Braves. Will certainly be handicapping the game just like every single other game on the card. So let's set the table for today, what we're going to do. Just completed the National League quick update on the standings. We're going to hit the American League updated standings and also some key injuries across Major League Baseball, which I know Tom's certainly following with Jackson Merrill. Probably send him a little flowers and maybe a gift basket out there. Please get back. Please get healthy in that lineup for the Padres, because we know how much that means there to that team overall. But also taking a look at how hot Mike Trout has actually been to open up the season. Could he be an MVP? Is he still the future of the Los Angeles Angels? We do it all. It's Pro Baseball Today, SportsGrid Network, Sunday morning, the place to be with Donnie and Tom, and we'll be right back.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith-Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread water, so I think that puts it in a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength. We need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
American League, Major League Baseball standings, Pro Baseball Today on a Sunday. Your place to be right here on the SportsGrid Network. And if you're tuning in, watching us on so many platforms, or even SiriusXM Channel 159, you are in the right place, which means we're going to talk a little bit about the American League East, the New York Yankees. And I don't know how they played at all in the Northeast this week. Freezing cold temperatures. It felt like every single day. Lost a little bit back, 5-5 in their last 10, but still sitting technically in first place there behind the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, and the Orioles. Everybody bunched up within 2 games. There's no panic alerts out here, except you're just looking and saying, hey, come on, Orioles, you're in last place. What's the deal?
Yeah, this is not the start that we anticipated for the Orioles, and this is really where we're going to see the standings the entire year. Like, I don't think we would be shocked, I should say. We would be shocked if any team ran away and they were like, oh, they're 5-8 games ahead in first place.
Yeah.
No, they're going to be juggling back and forth, first to fourth. You're in first one day, 3 days later, you lose 2 games to one of these divisions, you're back in third. Like, that's what we're going to be seeing. I also just think it puts things into a spot where we're never going to see like massive money lines when these teams are playing each other. Like, they're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
No doubt about it. By the way, runs scored there in that marketplace, 53 for Tampa Bay in that division, and also take a look at 56 for the Blue Jays. But the Blue Jays, with their low scoring output, still 8-7 on the season, picked dead last in that division, showing up in second. But again, only a couple weeks into the season here. The Central's got the Tigers in the lead at 9-5, 8-2 in the last 10 games, red hot here, including winners of the past 2. How about the Cleveland Guardians, winners of 5 straight games, also to peel back up to 8-6 overall? Kansas City, Chicago, and the Minnesota Twins, who are thought to be the favorites entering into the season. Tom, last place right now in the Central.
Last place, we said on the preview show, I was adamant about it. The Twins did not deserve to be the favorites to win that division. I said it. It's early. I'm not taking a victory lap yet, but they're in last place. I'm not going to say they're going to finish in last place. They are in a division with the White Sox, but the Tigers are a team that you absolutely want to be, focusing in on it, because we talked about their pitching staff. If some of their young pitchers could, bounce back, like Casey Mize after the injuries, Jackson Jobe stepping up into his first year as a starter. And then it's about the Guardians. We talked about Gavin Williams, we talked about Tanner Bybee, and then they still will have Shane Bieber come back at a certain point, and their offense is good. It's not great, but I still think they're in a spot to win their division, cause trouble when the playoffs come around.
By the way, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake them. Take a look at the West, man. The Angels in first place at 9-5, which means Mike Trout, Logan O'Hoppe and the boys, some power surges at the plate. I'm impressed to watch it. And by the way, Mike Trout 2025, average is 212. We don't look at average too much anymore. It's like, hey, ERA, what's your ERA? Give me the power statistics. Mike Trout with 6 bombs and 14 RBI so far on the season to power the Los Angeles Angels at 9-5. Are we surprised right now that the Angels in first place say, settle down, settle in, the cream will rise to the top, which means the Rangers, the Mariners, and the Astros?
Yeah, I think that's what we have to be looking at. And the Angels are not this good. This is not gonna be sustainable. Can Mike Trout, can his individual stats be sustainable? Sure. I know a lot of people are saying, when's the other shoe gonna drop? When's Mike Trout going to get hurt? When's he going to slide into second base and something's going to happen? Like, we obviously don't want to see that, but I know that's like the discourse, at least that I've seen, to a certain point. The Angels are not this good. All the other teams, I think we can make an argument for, even the Athletics. The Athletics are a fun team that we can root for. I'm not sure what's going on with the Astros. I think it's going to come down to the Rangers and the Mariners. But as always, the Mariners need to go out and get another hitter for their lineup. Their pitchers are amazing. They just don't have enough offense.
Let's get the heat of the summer built into this and start pounding that baseball here. We'll see if it certainly works out. And by the way, one pitcher that is having a really successful season is Nick Pivetta, San Diego Padres. 3 starts, 17 total innings pitched, an ERA of 1.59 and 18 Ks on this young season. Nick Pivetta, the former Philadelphia Philly. Always got to work that in, Tom. Come on.
Oh, anytime you can, between him, between Cease, Michael King, they got some good stuff. Again, their pitching, I think, is really good, and it can go toe-to-toe with a lot of people. Obviously, the offense is like the note of when you think of the Padres, you think of Slam Diego, all the home runs that they're going to be hitting. But Pivetta was a great signing in the offseason. I know a lot of people thought he got paid a little bit too much money, but he's a veteran. He can eat innings. He can pile up strikeouts. He has basically everything that you want.
Injury is going to get you here, Tom, early season. We've seen some crazy ones, like a game this weekend that ended on a player getting tagged out of the play because he blew his hamstring out, rounding third base. Would have been a tie game, would have went to extras. And I think, Tom, you were waiting on maybe an extra hit in that game if it would have gone to extra innings to try to help you out. But those are the things that we try to deal with. And also, we are looking – Pablo Lopez, 15-day IL with the hamstring injury. You also take a look at Matt McClain, 10-day IL hamstring injury. You take a look at Ketel Marte, 10-day IL hamstring injury. You take a look at Jackson Merrill, talking about you, Tom, right here, with another injury to his hamstring. Is it just it's too cold to play? But San Diego doesn't really play in cold weather. We're not running enough in spring training. What's up with the hamstrings?
I don't know. This could be a concerning sign. Like, is this something that we see akin to the NFL, like early season hamstring injuries, just players just aren't ready to go. Obviously, I'm very high on Jackson Merrill this year. We talked about playing times. I have him to lead the league in hits prior to the injury or right when the injury happened. I think it was 2 or 3 hits behind, which would be a great spot. And obviously there's a lot of, good fortune that you need to lead any category in the season, health, good variance, et cetera, et cetera. But the pitching for the Twins is going to be an issue without Pablo Lopez. He's great. The offense, I think, for the San Diego Padres will be okay without Merrill, at least in the short term. And then Ketel Marte, I heard on the broadcast last night or 2 days ago that he should be coming back in late April. So I think they will be in a good spot. They'll be fine without him.
Always tough when you see those injuries there, particularly hamstrings. It's more weeks and weeks and weeks. You can't run if you're built on explosiveness, just like you're talking about Ketel Marte. That's certainly going to harm him there. But also some other injuries. Justin Steele, 15-day IL with the left elbow. Never want to see that, specifically early in the season. But also, we get back to our handicapping bad beats, which we remember like we're elephants right now, Tom. C.J. Abrams, I had him in 2 parlays, and I get the update, hey, he's removed from the baseball game. It's like, this isn't football time where I'm worried about concussions right now or worried about bad injuries on the field. When you get a baseball injury, 1 at bat in, per se, and you're out, tough to swallow, man. What a tough pill to swallow.
It is tough, especially if it's like an oblique, he twisted on a swing. Those are what I hate. But, you have a player, like you picked it perfectly. Great spot, great matchup. The odds are what you want, et cetera, et cetera. And then it just doesn't happen. But we got a lot to get to, a full slate of games coming up.
And by the way, we're going to talk about some offensive firepower just due to a ballpark or the team's playing in it. That's out there in Sacramento. Let's get after it. Mets Athletics. And is there something to thin air in Sacramento? We'll be right back.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith-Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread waters. I think that puts into a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength. We need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Who doesn't love hits, runs, and RBI? We do love that. We love home runs. We love when pitchers struggle in the second inning and get bounced out of there. Mayhem ensues where you get 10, 11, 12, 13 runs in a possible game. So why are Tom Vecchio and Donnie Rightside talking about runs here? Well, it starts in Sacramento. Fun little ballpark, which always used to be, Tom, in Oakland when the A's were there. Man, what's the temperature tonight? Oh, it's 48 degrees in the middle of the summer. Yeah, there might be a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out, but horrendous angles, tough to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and tons of foul ball outs that you wouldn't have in any other stadium. Fast forward here now to Sacramento, the new version of the Athletics, and we're getting a look at some overs in the business. You take a look at some of those games: 18-3, 7-4, 10-2, 5-4, 10-4, 2-1, which is the anomaly, 7-6, and 3-1 last night. But the ball seems to be traveling much better in Sacramento, no doubt about it. Then, Tom, in Oakland.
Absolutely. It is 6-2 to the over. If you look at that graphic, they're scoring runs, and it's based on two things, right? Which is another thing. I don't want to keep harkening back to the previous show, but we talked about the Athletics specifically. And what do we say about them? They may not be great, but they're fun. They got some offense and they got some juice, so they can score runs themselves. Their pitching staff, not so great. And when you have good teams come in, they can hit the ball. And obviously the Athletics are doing their part, hitting the ball as well. So you could just keep piling in on the over. And I think we're going to see that through the entire season. I think this is, I made a joke on Twitter the other day to someone, this is Great American Small Park West. It's not Cincinnati. It's out in Sacramento.
And also right field there, you take a look at it. I mean, the fence might be 2.5 feet tall at most here. You can get some of those line drive home runs out of there. Love it. So we'll see if this continues throughout the summer and how the teams handle it. But you said it right. Oakland, or should I say the Athletics, were a fun team entering into the season, popping some home runs and getting a lot of lively bats in that ballpark. Yesterday, we did see a lower scoring game. And also, taking a look at the reason why we might have some lower scoring games with the Mets is their pitching staff has been phenomenal to start the season. ERA, tops in Major League Baseball. Home runs allowed, tops in Major League Baseball. Strikeouts, 7th in Major League Baseball. Walks, 18th in Major League Baseball. They've really come to play this season so far. The Mets offense just has to match that intensity from what the pitching staff has given them, Tom.
And the Mets are doing this, and they're not at full health. No Sean Manaea, no Frankie Montas. Like they're doing this not at full capacity. I mean, they had Clay Holmes as their opening day starter, who was a closer the past few seasons for the Yankees. So credit to them, credit to the pitching staff overall, the coaching staff, pitching coach, whatever it might be. They're in a great spot. Really fun matchup today versus the Athletics, though. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, let's get into it right away on that now. 979, 980 on the rotation, a 4:05 start, East Coast time, which means 1:05 out on the West Coast. It's Senga, it's Severino. This line opened up around a -138 price points, risen slightly at -142 to -143, depending where you're shopping at. Still some 135s in the marketplaces. Make sure you're shopping around getting the best possible pricing. That total, Tom, opened up at 9, still sits at 9 right now. Your initial thoughts here on the Mets taking on the Athletics today?
Really like this spot for Severino. He's been good. I'm not going to say he's been amazing. He's only an 18.4% strikeout rate this season. A report came out the other day saying that Severino was willing to take a 2-year, $40 million deal to stay with the Mets. He instead signed with a 3-year, $67 million deal with the Athletics. He was willing to take less money to stay with the team, and they just didn't offer it to him. So I'm not going to say this is like a full-on revenge spot, but he's been pitching well. The pitch count is fine. I like him specifically over 4.5 strikeouts. It was thinking -130. I saw some -140s, -150s out there. I also saw a 5.5 line out there, so always find that best line available. I would be willing to go to 4.5, -140. Of course, Senga looks good to start the season. He obviously had an extremely small sample size last year due to the injury, but I think he's in a good spot. I'm not going to say it's a great spot because I am worried about the Athletics bats. I think we will see some offense in this game despite the brand name pitchers that we have on the mound.
Yeah, here's what we got, too. Severino's got 19 innings pitched on the season, a 4.74 ERA, but a 4.65 xFIP number. If we record the xFIP today, again, we're talking about guys with 10, 15 innings pitched. 30 total pitchers on the card. Severino checks in at 29th overall in xFIP. If I look at him, talking about Severino, and say 81 at batters that he's faced this year, 236 ISO against a 330 weighted on base percentage, I'm focused here on the early season. 42 at bats time against righties at 263 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 350, which when we do our home run edition here on Sunday, Pete Alonso, 44 at bats against right-handed pitching, a 444 ISO power number and a 518 weighted on base percentage. Certainly is going to be in my crosshairs. Kodai Senga, again, last year, small sample size, as you said. This year, again, small sample size. But the one guy that sticks out, Soderstrom in that lineup, 52 at bats, Tom. 422 ISO, weighted on base percentage of 497 against right-handed pitching to sort of match that one up. So I'm excited about this game to see how it plays out. It will be an afternoon matchup. We'll see if we get some more home runs, or will it be more likely what we saw last night, a 3-1, 3-2 type ball game out there in Sacramento. We're only getting started. Make sure you keep the dial right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's Pro Baseball today. It's Tom, it's Donnie. More handicaps on the way next.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try Blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread water, so I think that puts it in a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength. We need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
We always like to get angry early in the season. We like to panic. We like the panic meter here. We also take a look at some baseball clubs and also some players that, hey, man, even though it's 3 weeks into the season, are we worried about the rest of the regular season? That includes the Boston Red Sox. You're coming into the season for myself, Tom. I said, you know what? It's a fun lineup in here. This could do some damage. Now, granted, they're playing every day. It feels like in 20-degree temperatures. It certainly doesn't help. But that doesn't mean that your offensive output should be brutal. And you take a look at some of the past couple games for the Red Sox, it hasn't been great this week. 2, 1, 4, 1, 1, 2. Multiple games being played in extra innings and still not scoring. So, Tom, I'm going to ask you first here. We did Rafael Devers' edition of Panic Meter a few short weeks ago, which, again, was like, you know what? He's actually playing much better baseball right now. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Are we worried about the Boston Red Sox? And what is your panic level here in that equation?
My panic for them overall is still calm. And Rafi started off the season super slow. They were on the road. They come back home, and he's hitting all over the place. He's back up to 270, 260 average, so that's totally fine. They still have a lot of young talent that still needs to elevate. I can buy into it and essentially rationalize, A, the weather wasn't amazing. The players are going to go through their natural variance. And if the top portion of the lineup with their veterans or their best hitters aren't performing, just because that's what baseball is on a day-to-day basis, and those rookies and young players aren't also performing, and those things happen at the same time, this is where we're going to get low offensive output. As the weather gets warmer and we see these players develop, we see, Devers and Bregman hit their stride, I think things will be okay. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I'm not too worried as well. So if I'm going to get to myself and say, am I panicked? If I told you I was calm about Rafael Devers in that lineup, and he did start to finally hit the baseball, I'm going to be equally as calm with the Boston Red Sox. Because last time I checked, it's like, hey, Red Sox haven't won yet, and the Yankees haven't lost. How are they going to make up a 13-game advantage this early in the season? Well, that's not going to be the case. The Red Sox will hit. I expect the pitching to be just fine. And once we get into those warmer temperatures in Fenway, that offense is certainly going to bloom here, where we're waiting for things to bloom in the Northeast, man. It's cold, but it looks like this week, Tom, again, 55 degrees. We could start to celebrate in some of these days. But for me, I'm going to look at the Boston Red Sox and say, calm down. We're going to be just fine. And Tom has that same opinion as myself, which brings us up to the game today. Sox on Sox, baby. That's the Red Sox versus the Chicago White Sox. If we line this game up today, starting pitchers, Crochet Smith, rotational number 967, 968, a 2:10 start East Coast time. 7 on the total, 7 across the board from the opening numbers, but a favorite here, Tom. Minus 245 at some of the opening numbers, as high as 250 in the marking place. Is that warranted with Crochet on the mound today?
I think it's warranted based on what we expect from Crochet. Right now, he's going up against his former team. Let's throw that out there. We know what that is. It's going to be like 60 degrees. They're at the White Sox. There's going to be like 19 or 20 mile per hour wind blowing in from right field. So it's nice weather, or it's nice temperature. Not a great. There could be a stray shower or two. So based on the pedigree that Garrett Crochet has, we expect him to be this type of money line favorite, but ultimately he hasn't performed exactly to that level. Last season, his strikeout rate was 35%, which is unbelievable, and a 5.5% walk rate. This year, again, small sample size, it's at 22% and 9.3. It's a little bit lower than I would anticipate. If he said at 35 last year and he's down at 27, I can understand that. But he's down at 22, 13% lower. That's a bit of an issue. So the Red Sox should be favored. The White Sox shouldn't be favored over anyone, basically. The Red Sox, they shouldn't be this much of a favorite.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because you're right about that heavy wind blowing in from right field. We'll see where the ball travels, but understand this too. It's just a bad matchup for the White Sox. And you'll say that a lot this season because that lineup stinks as is. We take a look at Crochet, the lefty, coming into the season. He was sensational last year through 595 batters. This year, 75 batters, Tom, an 0.59 ISO and a 252 weighted on base percentage. He's been every bit the part that the Red Sox had expected. You take a look at the White Sox lineup, but again, limited at bats, specifically when going up against left-handed pitching. But let's just say each player has an average of maybe 10 at bats. Miguel Vargas, who's doing very well through those 10 at-bats. The rest of the guys, Robert, Sosa, Vaughn, Taylor, Baldwin, Mydroff, whoever that is. I mean, nothing from ISO power numbers and weighted on base percentage here. He should be able to walk through that. You flip it over to the opposite side, Shane Smith on the mound, didn't have any statistics last year, 44 batters that he's faced. He actually has some pretty good numbers. Through 11 and 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.54 ERA, but the xFIP is 3.86, which is still very manageable here. And with an offense that is struggling on the Boston Red Sox side, I don't know if we're going to break out on either side today, but I'm with you, Tom. I don't know if I want to lay the 245, maybe a parlay piece because I think they win. But then again, don't be surprised when this game's like the 6th inning, 1-0 Red Sox. Like, boy, I laid a 245 end here just to try to get a victory. Now, things certainly are going to be up for grabs here in that spot. Any final thoughts there for you there on Boston, Chicago for you, Tom?
No, you don't want to lay the juice. I understand it. Like it's a spot where it's like we think the Red Sox win. We don't like the price. It's probably about the under. Shane Smith has a 62% ground ball rate to start the year. Like we're not going to see the ball fly today.
Yeah, nobody's powering blast out. But by the way, you'll probably get 2 home runs to right field in that heavy wind here. Just as we say, it's probably going to stay in the ballpark, just the way it happens. Let's move to another ballpark down south. No longer worried about how cold is it going to be, Tom, in the Windy City, because we're going to go down to 977, 978 on the rotation. A 140 start. It's Atlanta and it's Tampa Bay. Chris Sale, the lefty, is going to be on the mound, but we do have a pitching change here for the Rays. Boyle will now get the start. So if we're re-upping some of those odds, the opening numbers had Atlanta like a -125, Tom. I'm now seeing across the marketplace 174s and 175s in a total, which opened up at 8. Some lines now starting to creep to 8.5. Pitching change, which again, we're doing this on the fly, so sometimes it's tough to analyze, but I guess the marketplace is responding to the change in pitchers not being good for the Rays here, Tom.
Yeah, I was really excited for this. Shane Baz, it was supposed to be Baz versus Sale. And when I was, doing some prep last night, I was like, man, despite the weather, despite the stadium, we could be in for an awesome pitching matchup today. Like Tampa, they're 13th highest in the league when it comes to striker rate versus lefties at 24.8%. Atlanta's off to a slow start, 25.6% striker rate versus righties. Like we could see a real pitching duel after all the hits that we saw yesterday, the comeback home runs that the Braves had. That's not the case. So I do lean with the over, and that's solely going to be based on, I think the Atlanta offense is ready to turn around. We saw the power start to get through yesterday. It's no longer Shane Baz, as you said. It's going to be Boyle on the mound today. I think we're going to see some runs. I also do like Sale still to go over his strikeout prop over 6.5.
Yeah, take a look at Sale, who, again, phenomenal last year. Cy Young Award winner, 101 ISO, 260 weighted on base percentage against through 703 batters he faced last year. This year has been a little bit of a struggle. You take a look at some of those statistics from this season alone. 3 games started, 6.75 ERA, 14 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 17 Ks. But it also is matchup, derivative, because you take a look at Sale coming into today, and as Tom pointed out, you see Yandy Diaz through 11 at-bats against left-handed pitching this year. He's done very well. You take a look at Caballero down the lineup there. 857 ISO, weighted on base percentage, 713. Now, that would be impressive if that was through like 50 to 60 at-bats. It's only through 7. But the rest of that lineup, really underwhelming, Tom, with ISO and weighted on base percentages here as we take a look at it. Now, we do have some statistics here on Joe Boyle. Last year, 226 batters that he faced, Tom, a walk rate of close to 17.8%, which isn't good, almost 20% to lefties, and that weighted on base percentage to lefties certainly soared. A 368 weighted on base percentage, but his ISO power numbers were relatively low. But as you said, we're finally starting to see some life in the middle of that lineup. Riley, Ozuna, Albies, and Murphy in that lineup all check out well. Am I running to the window to take a minus 175 price? Probably not. But also, this game doesn't give me vibes, on at least my side, Tom, of a ton of offense, particularly coming from Tampa Bay's side.
No, and now that I'm looking at it more, a Braves team total 4.5. I think that may be the best spot to look. Like we don't want to lay the money with the Braves. I like Sale. We're not sure what we're getting from Boyle, but the Braves team total 4.5 minus 122. Of course, shop for the best lines available. I think that may be the best bet for this game.
Yeah, we take a look at the past couple of years, just trying to do some research again, because he did have a couple hundred at bats last year. But 2024 Oakland in AAA, Tom, a 5 ERA and a 4.60 xFIP number. You take a look at him with Oakland last year, a 6.42 ERA and a 5.11 xFIP number. Now, this season with Tampa Bay, AAA, granted, only 8 innings pitched, a 3.93 xFIP number. But again, that's AAA stepping up to the bigs. And also, it looks like one of those spot starts where you're trying to just formulate your bullpen and get him in there. I don't know how much success he's going to have. Maybe another break that Atlanta leads here, Tom, on this young season to pick up another victory. They were dead to rights yesterday, pulled it out with a couple long balls late, which you can get at Steinbrenner Stadium as opposed to playing there in Tampa. And how about this? Announcing sold-out crowds every night, Tom, to the theme of 10,300 people. Go Rays, go! Selling out every game of the season this year. Major League Baseball. We'll be right back.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith-Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread water, so I think that puts into a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength, we need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Where does the time go? We can do this all day, but we only get 2 hours on a Sunday to make sure we're getting you up to date on all the latest information and also handicapping each and every Major League Baseball game. It's Tom Vecchio. It's Donnie Right Side. It's a SportsGrid Network Sirius XM Channel 159 Pro Baseball Today. You're home for Major League Baseball right here on the grid. Let's keep it going here. 963, 964 on the rotation. First game of the day, that's Toronto and Baltimore. It's Barrios taking on Povich. This line opened up at minus 135, minus 136. Still sitting around those levels here. Not much movement. Total also, Tom, 8.5 at the opening number, 8.5 still across the board. Toronto and Baltimore, what gives?
A little bit of wind blowing in, which, isn't ideal. I think the Blue Jays come away with the win. We've talked about Cade Povich a good amount. We talked about him on the previous show. We talked about him last week or the week before when they were taking on the Royals. He's a young pitcher for them. He's a pitcher that I have a lot of long-term belief in. He's looking pretty good. And I'm not going to say I'm willing to buy in on every single thing that he's done so far, but strikeout rate is up compared to last year. His walks are down. His xFIP is at 306 this year compared to 499 last year. Again, small sample size. He's not giving up as a ton of fly balls. The hard contact is a little bit of an issue. I think there's going to be some runs in this game, and I lean with the Blue Jays. They threw away yesterday's game. Barrios on the other side, walks are way up this year. Not ideal. The home runs are up this year, and the power that he can allow to lefties, I think, is very evident today. I think we're going to see those runs from the Orioles. So when we see a 36% fly ball rate, allowing over 1.5 home runs per nine, or was it 1.53 home runs per nine? That's dangerous versus the Orioles.
No, it is dangerous. And you take a look at this game where you start to get those juices like, ooh, maybe we could have something here. Because Barrios, sometimes people, Tom, you just see the name like, I don't want to fade Barrios today. But you have to go off the numbers that we're seeing. Not overly dominant last year. I would say he maybe would be average. No. This year, 72 batters faced. He's been really bad, particularly to left-handed batters. And also catching the Orioles maybe at the right time where they're starting to fire up at least power numbers here with right-handed pitching. You take a look at Rutschman, O'Hearn, Westberg, Mullins, and O'Neill. All sky high, Tom. ISO power numbers and weighted on base percentage. And the key indicator, all low strikeout numbers and high walk rates between those guys. So two through six, should have some options. Now, if we flip it over and take a look at Toronto, he said, well, Povich isn't that great of a pitcher, Donnie. Last year, 351 batters. He faced a 198 ISO, which is elevated, a 343 weighted on base percentage, which is elevated, and hasn't handled anything against righties. Fast forward to this year, 48 batters that he's faced here, 36 from the right-hand side, a 456 weighted on base percentage, but a low ISO. You flip it over to left-handed batters, only 12, a low weighted on base percentage, but a high ISO. But here's the issue, Tom. Sometimes you take a look at pitchers like, yes, they should hit Povich, but you look at the lineup today, inefficient to say the least against left-handed pitching this season.
Yeah, and that's we talked about Vladdy for home runs, right? And we have not seen the power from the Blue Jays. So I can understand, I'm not buying into Povich every single start. And at least the top 4 hitters or so from the Blue Jays should be able to come through. But again, I think there's going to be some runs. I lean with the Blue Jays just because we had a decent price on them. And I'm not super interested in backing Povich. This is not saying I love Jose Barrios, because I don't. But I think the price is worth going to the Blue Jays today.
Nice little stacks over there for the Baltimore Orioles. We'll see how it plays out today. If you have one look and say, you know what, Springer's got some pretty good options here against left-handed pitching this season, we'll see if he can spray one out there today and see how it gets done. Let's keep going. It's Kansas City and it's Cleveland from Cleveland. 965, 966 on the rotation. A 140 start time here, a 130 price point as a favorite towards Kansas City at the opening number. We're as high as 135 at some outlets. It's Reagan's the lefty versus Lively the righty on the mound, and a total that opened, Tom, 7.5, still sits right now, 7.5.
It's all about the Royals today. It is. Yeah. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I am always of the belief that I'm willing to fade teams that are on long winning streaks, especially teams in division that are going to play each other multiple times. I just don't expect these teams to get swept. And now the Royals have this ace on the mound today to stop this losing streak. Reagan's is awesome. 35.8% strikeout rate. His walk rate is at 6%, allowing 0.56 home runs per nine. He does not allow a super high amount of hard contact. The fly balls are an issue for him, but man, he can punch out hitters. To see him end up with 7, 8, 9, 10 strikeouts should not be an issue. On the other side, Ben Lively for the Guardians, a pitcher that is just I would say an end of the rotation type of guy. We're talking about 19.3% strikeout rate, 8.8% walk rate, 1.26 home runs per nine. And the fly balls there at over 51%. So the power on the Royals, led by Bobby Witt, I think the Royals come away with the win.
Here's the interesting part about it, too, because you have to extrapolate and take some of the numbers from last year into this year, because it's tough. Again, once we get to midsummer, you're not going to be worried about what they did in 2024. But Ben Lively last year, average pitcher per se, this year 57 batters faced. It hasn't been great, but it's been great against the right-handed batters. A 0 ISO and a 201 weighted on base percentage. But look at those left-handed bats in that lineup, Tom, that could go against him today. A 304 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 437, as you pointed out. Low strikeout capabilities here, which means, maybe we can get some fly balls. But you take a look at that Kansas City lineup, and sometimes you just have to say, leap of faith or a gut feeling. Garcia, good numbers. Witt, good numbers. Pasquantino, 171 ISO, which is decent against right-handed pitching. But the rest of that lineup, Perez, Massey, Renfroe, Melendez, Fermin, and Isbell, all bad numbers. How do you approach that where it's like they should hit, but they haven't yet, which means are they due for a breakout?
It comes down to like what market you're looking at. Is it a total base? Is it RBIs, et cetera, et cetera? So the ability for the 1+1+1, that's, I would say, an easier market to attach where you're not exactly sure who's going to be doing the hitting or who's going to be doing the scoring, where you could just take Witt, Vinny P, and Sal Perez. You just keep it simple at the top of their lineup. Maybe, I know Jonathan India, I think he got lifted from yesterday's game, so if getting updated on that if he's in the lineup today. But a run from any of them, an RBI from any of them, you just don't know, so you just go with the 1+1+1 option.
Yeah, take a look at some notes that I had. Obviously, Reagan's certainly the better pitcher in this game. Lively's high xFIP, bad versus left-handed batters. We'll see how that plays out into the equation. But if you are looking from a Cleveland perspective, I know you've gone a lot of times with Stephen Kwan. Not great numbers this year against left-handed pitching. But your boy J-Ram, 13 at-bats, I know it's limited. 455 ISO, 478 weighted on base percentage, and a low K rate here. Any thoughts for you today on J-Ram getting involved?
I can't, because I have Reagan's on my fantasy team, and I need him to have a huge game come away with this. So I'm biased in favor of Reagan's. It does not say I don't think J. Ram's got a big day, but I can't have any action.
Big day in the Central Division, which means up next, we're going to talk more Central Division baseball. It's Detroit, it's Minnesota, it's a 2:10 start. This is Pro Baseball Today. We're getting you ready for action, baby. Keep the dial right here, and we'll be back.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith-Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread water, so I think that puts it in a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength. We need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
More Major League Baseball. Who says no? Well, certainly not the SportsGrid Network, and certainly not Pro Baseball Today with myself and Tom Vecchio as we continue to hit every single game on the card, which means Detroit and Minnesota is up next. Mize versus Woods Richardson. A 210 start here, 971, 972 on the rotation. An opening number, which is basically a pick'em. Still sitting at most outlets, roughly a pick'em. The total in this game opened up at 8.5. No change there. Do we have the perfect scenario today between Detroit and Minnesota?
We have the perfect scenario if you're a fan of one of these teams. I wouldn't say this is the best game to look on the slate. Obviously, wanted Riley Green to come over the big day yesterday, which he did not. Needed him to come through. Again, this is what I've said about the AL Central the entire season. Like it's a coin flip on the money line. That's what we're going to be getting. No matter who they're playing outside of the White Sox, this is going to be just a coin flip on either side. Even when outside of Skubal at home, Cole Reagan's at home, that's where we'll see a little bit of juice, but this game's a complete coin flip. When it comes to Woods Richardson, pitcher, I can't trust. Way too many walks, 11.1%. He does have some nice strikeouts at 24.1%. The fly balls are an issue, and the hard contact is an issue for him. Casey Mize on the other side, a pitcher that I'm invested in my fantasy team. I want him to continue to do well. His strikeout rate is elevated this year. It was super low last year, but that was the year he was coming off of the injury. I think he can punch out the Minnesota hitters. Again, as a team, I've said from the beginning, they should not have been the favorites to win the division. Their team I just don't have faith in overall. Give me Mize and the Tigers. I know they're hot right now, but I like them.
Yeah, interesting thoughts. And again, early in the season, I was always like to preface here in the month of April, Mize, a .77 ERA, but a slightly higher xFIP of 4.08, something to monitor. But again, you're not getting a lot of hammers in that lineup that are we going up against them. But if we take a look at Simeon Woods Richardson on the opposite side, I'm telling you, the toughest thing sometimes for people that handicap on a day-to-day basis, you get so angry with the player from the day before. But I got to tell you right now, you still look at those power numbers for Riley Green, that high weighted on base percentage today, and you feed right into Woods Richardson really struggling with left-handed batters. Him and Kerry Carpenter in the middle of that lineup, Tom, for me, may be signaling a little mini stack today to get some action. And by the way, how about this? We talk about so much cold weather. It's like, oh, Minnesota, it's got to be cold, Tom. 66 degrees today in Minnesota.
Yeah, we talked about Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green on the preview show, saying that they were fast. They have underrated. Listen, they may not be great against lefties. They may not be great against lefties, but they have some legit power. Kerry Carpenter is looking good to start the year. He's got a couple home runs. So does Green have some home runs. So yeah, I'm upset that he didn't come through yesterday, but I may be having to go back to him today just because this matchup is so good. We can't have this recency bias just because a player went 0 for 4. Ohtani goes 0 for 4. Judge goes 0 for 4. It's baseball.
You know how it goes, too. We need him to get a base hit. First inning comes up, base clearing double, 2-run score. It's like, I didn't ride him today. I didn't go yesterday. So I do think those two guys certainly willing of a stack today. Let's get to the St. Louis Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies today. Rubber match as we get out there in St. Louis. Going to be Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies versus Liberatore, the left-handed pitcher for St. Louis. 9:55, 9:56 on the rotation. 2:15 start. 176 is the favorite on the opening number for Wheeler. Higher at most outlets as high as -192. You take a look at the total, 7.5. That is up to 8, Tom. And I know you were looking today. I saw a tweet got sent out there. Fill us in on the weather out there in the Lou.
It is beautiful. I'm not going to say game of the day because we have some great pitchers going later. But from a betting perspective, this may be the game of the day. I'm already on the over 7.5 as that's what it opened up at. Wheeler's the favorite. We know that 72 degrees, 15 to 20 mile per hour winds blowing out to left field. This is fantastic. Liberatore, as you said on the mound for the Cardinals, not a pitcher we need to be worried about. Wheeler can keep things under control. Again, I don't have faith in the Cardinals. I think the offense will come 75% from the Phillies. As they said, I tweeted out an RBI from Schwarber, an RBI from Harper. That's where I'm at. I just think it's all offense. Liberatore, a pitcher, again, we don't need to be worried about. You said Castellanos is going to be in for a big day. Is that what you specifically like for this one? Because when I'm saying, what is this, a home run fly ball rate from Liberatore at 11.2%? There's nothing I can trust from him.
Here we go today. Zach Wheeler, by the way, had a great start to the season, sort of tripped up in that weird game in Atlanta where neither one of the offenses were great, and Sale and all of a sudden Wheeler got knocked around in that ball game. He comes into this game 71 batter, still a decent ISO at 169, right around average, but a low weighted on base percentage of 284. Not in love with that lineup because why? For St. Louis, because Wheeler's on the mound. Liberatore on the other side, he does have decent statistics against lefties, a slightly higher weighted on base percentage against righties. But if you go back to last year, 217 batters he faced, Tom, at 216 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 350. You take a look in the middle of that lineup, and again, We're under 25 at-bats for these guys. Kyle Schwarber, 706 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 699 against left-handed pitching this year. He's a lefty, remind yourself. And then Nick Castellanos, who I love it today, 357 ISO, 543 weighted on-base percentage. Both guys have low K rates here. Get one up in the air into that jet stream into Big Mac land out in left field. More Major League Baseball. Hour number 2 is next.